Hi, Anna with Anna D. Scratch and Crafts. I am going to finish up my Fairyland Diorama. Here's the rough draft from one of the other videos, and now I'll show you all the other little details in getting it done. Those items I have not yet made, those items I've made but have changed. Like I said, this is rough draft. Come along the journey to see all the steps to put into the final project.
I am going to pour some resin into this green sand. Although I may not know how the rest of it's going to look, I do know where I want my pond to sit. And what the green sand will do, it'll put a seal barrier between the two sides. So I can pour the pond colored resin and not have it flow up into the rest. So I've got my resin made up. And again, just to let you know, I have covered this surface, which is a whole brand new work surface for me, with that press and seal so I can keep any drips off. I've poured some resin into the small container, and that way I can guide it just a little bit more, and I'll just work it a little at a time. And just simply work the sand into the resin. Now if you see, I'm actually pulling in more sand than what I had poured. I do have some more of the sand sitting here, ready to be used. And I will do this just a section at a time. So I've got that section done. We'll pour a little bit here. And this sand, once it's finished and I've got the water in, will basically give the impression of it being a bank. And I'm going to need it taller than this, so I'm going to need more sand. And I borrowed out of the kitchen. Because I basically do need to build this up in height. So it's going to need a little bit more resin.
Now I'm mixing up the sand almost like a mortar. I don't want it too runny. I want it thick so I can actually build the wall. The wall needs to be the same height as the side in order to be a barrier. And now it's time to add some more sand and do the next section. And some of the white stone is mixing in, which is not that big of a deal because stone does get mixed into the bank. And that's basically what this will look like when it's finished. It'll be like a bank.
Now continue on. You've seen how I'm doing it. So there's no reason for you to sit and watch me do every inch of it. But you've got the gist and the idea of what I'm doing. And how I'm putting up a barrier that, once dry, will allow me to pour one color on this side and a different color on that side and not have the two mix. And I will clean up the mess I'm making here with some paper towels, even though it's protected. No reason to leave it a mess. And I have finished the wall on that one. And of course, on this one as well. You may have seen I did change it a little bit. Like I said, it's rough draft only. But now this is permanent. Once this resin sets, that is where the wall is going to be. I said I needed something for inside the mushroom house. So I made up a little bed, an end table, and a chair. And for scale, there's my finger. So you see how tiny they are. They'll fit inside my mushroom. Little side view. Found a cute little charm and figured I'd put it on the table, kind of like as if it's a lamp. Oops. And if I can get this to behave, I decided to paint the bridge. Well, I knew I was going to paint it, but I forgot to do it on screen. All the lovely little rainbow colors. This is Fairyland after all. It has to be bright, couldn't leave it just plain old wood. So one more step done, or two actually, and Fairyland's getting put together. I said I was going to go find some cloth to see if I could make up a bedspread and pillows for this. And then I realized I had a bunch of dollhouse wallpaper that was used by someone else in my family that's no longer being used. And I found this pattern. So I want this little tulip here to sit in the center of the bed. And I figured out how to make the pillowcases. I've already done this before. I have a sample here that I did. See, that will be the pillow and the bedspread. But it wasn't big enough on the pillow. So I am going to use, and what I used in that was a bit of toothpick that I cut. So to make the pillow a little bit bigger, 2 wasn't enough. So 3. Get it in there. I know it's kind of hard for you to follow me because my fingers are in the way, but just start rolling it. There we go. Once I get the first roll in, it's easy. Now, I want to make sure that I roll it down only to the place. So that would be right about there. Just want to make sure, like I says, that this is the center of the bed. I'll fold this back just to let me know where I'm at. So we will roll. And we're at that spot. So then when I now turn it inward and give it a crease. No, still too far down. There. And it folds over. On those locations. I'd already put the creases in. Now just double check with the bedding. And the pillow is the right size. So I'm going to go ahead and finish peeling off the backing. And I can stick the bed spread on the bed. Make sure I get everything centered. So let's squeeze down. Get that glue to stick. Bend over. Squeeze the sides down. Now the bottom's a little too long. So let's bend down here, bend here, make that pretty little corner. And now I know where I need to cut off. Come on. It's supposed to stick together in a pretty little corner. Scissors. And we will cut. If it won't, there it is. So my bed has a bedspread, which takes us to the next step. I found a little rocking horse charm. I figured that's perfect in here. So it will sit at the foot of the bed. The bed will go there. So to get it to stay there, I've got glue. Let's see if we can glue those feet down. Stay in the camera, Anna. My trusty little glue cap. And I'm going to add some glue over here. Stay in the camera. To help glue the spread down. Now this glue's a little old and tacky because I basically poured it right before I started to make the spread. But that'll help. It'll hold those sides down. But I'm going to need more glue. And yes, it looks like a lot, but remember, this will dry clear, and it'll be under the spread, so you won't see it anyway. But since all that's really sticking it is those couple of little feet, that one's glued in. Now we need the table and chairs to be glued down.
Now you'll see me starting putting the glue on the legs. Even though I put a lot of amount on it, they were only 4 tiny little dots to hold it in the bottom. It just wasn't working. So I took it out, put in a big glob of glue, and I set the table in it. You'll see that in just a second. And because it is a big glob, it'll actually hold on more and probably even come up to underneath the table. But again, it'll dry clear. You won't see it once finished. And I did the same thing with the chair. So they're both in there.
So I'm going to move the camera a little so you can see inside. The little rocking horse, the table and chair. And that's the inside. Now, so whether I think of any kind of decoration on the side, that'll come. But right now, I've got my furniture in the house. Set it aside to dry. Another item that I prepared off screen, basically because I was sitting here doing other things and figured I'd get started and wasn't quite sure if I knew what I was doing. I made myself the tree. I had it in mind. It's one of the reasons that I did these leaves and kept them away from everything else. I was not going to use the leaves in scratchers or other jewelry. It was meant for this tree. And the tree was fairly simple. I just took the craft wire, twisted it together, and as I wanted a branch, I'd bring it out, the twist, bring the next one out of the twist, and so forth. Whoops. As we go up. Something else you might notice, I'm sitting right there on the crack of my paper. If you look really, really close, and I'll take you in on one of them. Let's get her turned around and come in. And turn this so you can kind of see her. The fairy. There's several hidden in the tree, just as there'll be fairies hidden all over the diorama that you'll have to go looking for. I figured that'd be part of the fun of the diorama, see how many fairies you can find. So I put some up in the tree, hint, hint. And you have twisted around, there we go. But they're nice and free-flowing. I kind of like the tree. One more step done. Getting ready now, this is dried, to pour my pond resin in. Let's actually move this, encompass almost all of it. I did put my little tortoises out on the, quote, rocks. I did have another rock. It was kind of left over from another pouring, and I like this one better than the plain red, so I changed it out. And it's a little taller, so it gives some dimension to the rocks. You'll also notice, you'll see little charms inside. I went through and found my little sea charms that I wanted. Now, while I've laid them in there, I'm going to have to take them out. It's kind of like the scratchers. You want at least a little bit of a layer at the bottom before you start putting anything on. So let's pull them out. And I don't know if you've noticed, because it was kind of out in, let's see if I can bring it up, Little Mermaids. Now it's the same on both sides, so it's just the back, but I thought it'd be cute to have them up against the bank, and I'll put a fairy on the other side talking to them. So I've got the resin, but no color. So I've got blue. Where's my blue? The trick with the alcohol, like I said, I just wanted a thin layer. The little blue one. Goes over in the corner. The Little Mermaids sitting here chatting. You may have seen that I moved some things around, like I says, other than mermaids going back in the same spot. I kind of put other things where they looked a little bit better to me. And now to finish the pour. And I had the same thing to do on this side. Before I'm finished, another spritz of the alcohol on top. Get rid of those bubbles. And get these out of here.
And just like with the other side, I do the prep. Then I pour one layer, start putting in all the little charms and moving them to where I want them to be at.
It's poured, and I actually guessed right on the amount. I don't have any left over, and I didn't need to make up more. You saw me moving again. I realized where the bridge would go, and I didn't want anything sitting. In fact, that needs to move just a little bit because it'll be in the way of the bridge. So move that one over, move you in. Because you have to keep in mind, I've got that bridge that'll be going here. And I really don't want to hide anything under it. That would be a waste. So, let's move you, turtle, in that space. And what I'm calling the beta fish, not quite sure what it is, over in that bigger space. Pour is done. Let it sit and cure. And then I need to get the moss out and start laying out the rest of the stuff. One more step done. Never finished. I was getting the moss out and saw these. And I did want to put plants in here. I just didn't get them out and didn't think about it. So basically these to me are like water plants. They live kind of on the edge, which means I'm going to swap these two. That one's more of an edge plant. This one's more floating up from the bottom. Move my squid just a little. Like I said, until the resin has finished curing, I guarantee that I don't change anything. And I think that's enough. Too much is too much. And if you enjoyed my video, please press the like button, hit the subscribe button if you haven't, and the notification bell so you know when my next video is out. Thank you.